We start with the most rudimentary slate, stylus. For mathematics, use the Taylor frame. You can use Braille typewriters. Today, you have even more advanced technology. If you go to the stall of humanware, they have a very interesting Braille note taker, which has voice, it has Braille display, it has Braille keyboards. Now, hypothetically, such units can be present or actually bought in bulk. And I'll give a simple example to you. You have government schemes, whether you have the ADEPT scheme or you have other schemes. If the government actually floats global tenders to buy products in bulk, its actual price of acquisition would come significantly down. These can then be distributed by way of aids and appliances to persons with disability. And thus, and mind you, resource centers can play a key role in this. But we need to set up resource centers. The question is, can we set up so many resource centers? Perhaps yes, perhaps no. And the way to go around that no answer is to actually use existing infrastructure. The government is coming out with a whole lot of schemes to promote IT literacy all across the country. They're coming out with, they go by different names, but the schemes are there. So you have different types of cyber cafes. One needs to build the inclusive framework into those places as well. So you put screen readers for persons with learning difficulties, disabilities, you put in other special assistive software, and in that manner your outreach actually goes far, far wider. Yes, we need to encourage model resource centers. So ideally, we need to build up at least one model resource center in a district. View this as a nodal center with satellite units. So you have satellite units within the district in the various IT-enabled facilities, and a nodal unit which could be in a school, in a college, in a university, which is open to everybody, where people can come, learn IT, because very honestly, the way ahead is through IT. If you don't bring IT into the classroom and bring it in early, then very honestly, you know, all the sessions you're going to have on employment, employability, etc., are going to go for a toss. IT has the capacity to actually help the persons with disability leapfrog. And school education, you know, somebody was discussing with me the other day, you know, we need to start teaching IT to the children at standard 8 and 9. Persons with disability should learn it at 8 and 9. And I said, why? No, because you see, they have so many other difficulties, so they need to get time to adjust. Well, very honestly, if you're going to follow that policy, we are actually going against inclusion. The child needs to learn IT and be given the IT the same time as any other child gets it. If you don't give it, you're actually creating this inequity which is going to perpetuate the segregation and go against this whole philosophy of inclusion. We need to sensitize teachers, and this is the biggest challenge before us. We are in a very, very, very small way go to some B.Ed colleges and sensitize teachers to different disabilities and how one can make effective workarounds. So for example, how do you work with an autistic child? How do you work with a person who has hearing impairment? How do you work with a person who is having a seeing difficulty? And mind you, very interestingly, very often people think of the totally blind, but there is a spectrum. The low vision are oftentimes totally forgotten. And so, within the teacher training curriculum, and one needs to work very, very actively at this, and hopefully one is able to take this up with the UGC to make sure that the B.Ed and other teacher training curricula reflect active understanding of disability. Because when I talk to teacher trainees, one of the first ideas I get from them is they see disabled children as different, and maybe, we may have to counsel them to go to special schools. And this is our biggest problem. So we set up resource centers, but we also need to work with teachers. And they are the basic agent of change. Now I'll give an example. I'm a product of an integrated school in the 60s and 70s. When I was a student, none of these technology was there. And yet, I would say that I've been able to perform reasonably well, compete against my classmates, and that is because of one simple reason. The school where I studied, although at that time this jargon of inclusion was not there, had a management that was committed to being supportive, was committed to saying, okay, you join us and whatever other things are needed, we'll help you. But technologies were not there. I wonder if I were a student today, I'm sure it would have given a great boost. You have schools in Delhi where, for example, we know, take the R.K. Puram example of Delhi Public School. We have a student there with whom we are in constant touch because we are building inclusion at the +2 stage with him in the CBSE board for science education. Now, science education requires far more support for a blind student. Remember, you had no rules. So, apart from the schools changing, apart from the teachers getting transformed, I was talking of the rest of the ecosystem as point 3 in my talk. And you need to build openness within the boards, within the universities. In Maharashtra, the Board of Higher Secondary Education has also come out with methods to evaluate, examine practicals for a blind child. As I said, same principles can be used for various other conditions. So please, if I keep talking about blindness, don't feel that I'm not conscious of other conditions. We worked with the MUHS, the Maharashtra University of Health Sciences, in building rules for a student to be studying mainstream physiotherapy. Again, that's high funda science education. How do you do this? There are aids and appliances. There are ways of teaching practicals. We need to build simple workarounds in existing mainstream technologies. And today, thanks to digital technology, a lot of this material is available to be made adaptive. So, for example, we worked with one manufacturer of an electrotherapy machine which is used by physiotherapists. It was display based, and as a resource center, we worked and got them to put in a voice overlay on the display so that it speaks and displays at the same time. Every single function is spoken. Now, when you build this environment for the student in a school or a college, and the child is able to function, automatically it builds up our self-esteem. Also remember, the major payoff we get is that when we build inclusive schools through these diverse technologies, the major myths and misconceptions that are being constantly bandied about by the quote-unquote able-bodied or normal population. I don't know who's normal, but I'm deliberately using terms which are questionable. those myths would be broken, because kids would be studying shoulder to shoulder, so myths get reduced. When you segregate and you, okay, give them all the technology also, people will think, oh, they are different. You need to move away from this, they are different, to we all have differences. But even though we all have differences, we all would want to be able to live in the same world. We are all part of the same universe, and we are able to function using different means. I may see my time and I realize that I am 20 minutes into my talk through the tip of my finger. Somebody may do that by looking, and there may still be many other ways of understanding that same parameter with regards time. In our laboratories, we need to build inclusive systems, because remember, science education is not the preserve of only one part of our population. You need to bring diversity, not only in the workplace, but through education. Diversity of abilities. It will give people a chance to do lateral thinking. We have a very interesting stall here in the exhibition, and I was quite interested in that with regards, actually, students having made projects, and the live projects are here for you to see. Hopefully some of them go to market. And this is again an expression of what all can be done. Technology is virtually endless. We are going to be able to use diverse technologies to do innumerable things. So whether you're talking about a simple audio looping system in a classroom, or you're talking about some form of augmented communication device again being used, these are technologies. Yes, some of them are costly, but a country like India has such a huge population that if we actually, as I at the start of the session mentioned, bring collective demand to bear, price has to come down. Price can't remain where it is. But the trouble is, we are not coordinated in our efforts at price reduction. We also need to do indigenous research, but that indigenous research has to be carried on with the end user in mind. Crores of rupees in India have been spent so far. I wish that money was available for other purposes. And we have scarcely nothing to show for it, not because the projects failed because of any other reason, but because they never involved the end user properly. Right? So we need to, as I'm summing up, look at three paths, maybe make a triangle, the resource units at two levels, satellite units, which go right across, you build into libraries, accessible, you have a computer in a library, it can be made accessible. Or you have nodal technology centers, maybe in one district across the country, so every district has one. You then have to work with teachers, because they are the most crucial part in the equation. They are the human agent of change, and the rest of the ecosystem. So with that, I am ending what I had to say. I would be happy to respond to any questions and take a discussion. We have about 10-12 minutes for a discussion. Yeah, any questions can...
From Samarthanam Trust for the Disabled.
Right.
I really appreciate the efforts of Xavier College in establishing a resource center. My question is this process documented so that any other college or any other educational institution can borrow the roadmap that you have done for your students, can it be easily applied to any other institution?
Yeah. Thanks, Justin, for your question. I'll just give a little background, and about your documentation part also I'll answer. When the resource center at St. Xavier's was started in 2003, we never realized we would be engaged to take up national level issues. We started as a very small support service within St. Xavier's College. Today we have a state-of-the-art nodal technology center and for the visually challenged, which I guess has a whole range of access technologies, which is being accessed by a whole lot of people, right from companies to educational institutions. In terms of the documentation, yes, there is a small journal article. IIM Bangalore had its recent seminar in a few weeks ago, and they've come out with a publication where the article has been mentioned. In case you have any specific queries, you can write into us at XRCVC. My email ID is sam, S-A-M,